Hello, 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 Transurfer and the Transurfing Curious. My name is Renee Garcia, guys, and this is TransurfingTV. Today I have my new Jackson Pollock pants on. What? How awesome are these? It's like I'm wearing a painting. Anyway, today, one of our Hacking the Technogenic System lessons, Chapter 14, Bats and Flying Foxes. What does that mean? I have not yet read this one. I think all the lessons from here on out I have not yet read. So I'm gonna kind of learn with you as we move through this stuff. As I've stated previously, this can be a little bit like, a little bit confusing when you're maybe watching these videos and there's time in between or you haven't moved in a linear fashion through the videos as the chapters go along. But take what you can and leave what you don't resonate with or don't understand. And again, we're going to make all of these available in the Facebook group. So if you do feel slightly confused or not exactly understand what is being talked about in a specific lesson, you can literally go through and just read all the PDFs like a book. So with that, I will get started. Before I do, remember to like this video, comment, and subscribe to this channel, and join us on the Facebook group, the International Transurfing Institute Facebook group. Follow me on Instagram and all the courses down below. We have a ton of courses now. Mo Money, Becoming Magnetic, Reality 2.0, which is obviously the Reality Transurfing core concepts, and Tufty 2.0, which is amazing. Oh my God, it's so good. I still listen to it once in a while because it's really a very, very powerful course. Okay, so with that, let's get rolling. These are longer in nature, so I'm gonna just buzz through, and if I feel like interjecting my 2 cents, I'll do that, but I'm literally just gonna zip right through it. So I still receive many questions from my readers about this system. To begin with, I can address the 2 most important questions. The first, when you read a book about transurfing, do you feel optimism and joy only to discover later that these feelings have evaporated? Since you asked this question, the answer will immediately come to you. Although the answer will be simple, it will be vague at the same time. So, where does optimism go when it disappears, and why does it disappear? It disappears and vanishes because when you read the book, it tells you that directing reality is possible, that it is like directing a perceived dream. But after you put the book down to return to the same reality you left, it becomes clear to you that everything is different and that the issue is not as easy as you had imagined. You are used to living this same dream over and over without realizing it, and that this dream controls you. This means that you jumped from the dream of the book to the dream of your reality, which is a reality that is far from being joyful. The answer is crystal clear, very simple, but vague. Otherwise, why would you have asked? The issue was not so clear until I uttered clear and precise words, but how was the situation before the words? It was foggy in your head, right? Or am I wrong? Of course, every person looks at the issue from his personal perspective because each person has his own level of knowledge and a certain degree of strength. Here lies the essence of the whole issue. Remember when you saw a movie that inspired you with such enthusiasm that you were completely convinced that this is exactly what is required and that you can do it too. From this moment on, you will be another human being just like him or her. But soon you feel helpless, falling for the same old childhood dream with all the promises you made to yourself before they disappeared and vanished into thin air, leaving you frustrated that you deluded yourself once again with false optimism. And the second essential question, why do these questions arise in general? In books, everything is clearly written, yet the questions still creep in from somewhere, where there is always a new question, followed by another question, then a third question, and so the process continues. The answer is this: because you failed to control your daydreaming, you failed to control your reality. If you would have succeeded, the question would not have arisen, no matter what. right? So why did you fail? We have clarified through discussing the previous topics that modern man is considered more a consumer of information than a maker of it. It would be more accurate to use the word creator instead of maker in this context. If you are a receiver, in this case, you are watching other people's shows. But if you are a transmitter, you are being more than creative with your shows. Do you realize the essence of what we are talking about here? Do you? The issue is that when you watch other people's shows, you are living the unaware dream. In order to transform an unrealized dream into a materialized dream, you must personally transform from a receiver to a transmitter. The broadcaster is the one who does not abide by the ready-made templates and norms that have been imposed on him by the social environment, because he is the one who has the courage to impose laws and rules. The laws of the social environment, even when you know them, and contrary to the laws of nature, are highly volatile laws and do not address only one situation. If you have the awareness of the creator and his intention, then your dream, your reality, can be controlled regardless of the circumstances that you may think are difficult. Do not be afraid of this strict and harsh expression, difficult circumstances. Take, for example, a common but impossible phenomenon. Bats are good at flying. Actually, it is not that they are good at flying, it is that they have remarkable skill, but from the point of view of rational thinking and the well-known laws of mechanics, this is impossible. But it is a reality that we see with our own eyes. The same thing is also true for transurfing. The main question that arises is, how do you change from a being receiver to a being transmitter? Or how do you change from being a receiver to being a transmitter? The answer is to free your consciousness, free your mind, and raise your energy level. Hence, this chapter can be summarized through the following points. 1. This is an age-old question. What can we do in this situation? Here we find ourselves again forced to raise the same issues that frustrate people so much. I find myself repeating over and over and over again that transurfing must be viewed as indivisible and holistic principles that consist of 3 basic elements: how we think, how we feel, and how we move. What does holistic principle mean? It means that if we throw out one or more of its constituent elements, we get something imperfect and incomplete, and thus the technique will be diminished and lose its full strength. Thinking is the way you interact with the mirror of the world, meaning that any image you form in front of the mirror, along with your reaction, will be everything that is in the reflected image. Feeding is what enters into the human being, whether it be food or information. Movement includes your lifestyle, be it vital activity or laziness or lethargy. This also includes your ability to deal with your body and your energy sources. 2. The point here is although you are forced to live with the system through which your energy and consciousness are consumed, the ready-made stereotype or matrix, you must not be attached to it at the same time. This can only be achieved if you use the second and third elements, namely feeding and movement, because all other mental techniques such as meditation, stopping self-dialogue, and diving into the depths of the subconscious are no longer useful. You will not be able to get rid of the net of the system by making use of the means that linked you to this system. In other words, you work opposite to the known direction. If the system forces you to lead a sedentary life, do the opposite and start to seriously care about your physical shape. If the system offers you prepared ready meals, switch to natural meals. If the system seeks to drown you with a plethora of empty information, turn your back on the system and pretend that you are either empty or flatulent. This system gives you all kinds of chemical and radiological toxins. So work on choosing everything that is ecological, starting from home and ending with the decorative materials. It is a very simple principle. It is not necessary to switch to raw food directly or to hide immediately in an ecological reserve. Just start with what is simple and available. It is important here to start. Put your feet on the path and then let the path lead you to where you want to be. 3, I just want to make a quick statement, and I know this is probably a little bit inappropriate for me to do this right now, but the one thing that's coming up for me here is like, man, Vadim is so different in his real life character and what he writes. It's almost absurd. My entire time knowing him, he wanted me to adhere to a system that he created. And anytime that I defied any standards of the pendulums within the matrix or the system, he acted exactly the same as typical human beings do. I don't know what the hell is going on with this dude, but man, reading this stuff, sometimes I get a little bit irked because I'm like, you were essentially prodding me to do exactly what you're speaking out against in your books. Anyway, sorry for that little rant. 3, someone may object to all of this and say, transurfing works perfectly for me and the rest does not concern me because it works and this is enough for me. There is no doubt about this, but I declare with confidence that it does work. It does not work with the same efficiency that it did 5 to 7 years ago because of the effect of seizing and surrendering energy and consciousness. This applies to all of us without exception because reality is changing fast. If you continue to live with the same old principle that this thing works and the rest is not important, then you will miss the point. 4, in this universe, there is a type of mammal that arouses the greatest curiosity, namely the bat, whose front limbs have turned into wings. Some bats can fly only, but there are also others that can run and swim and launch from the middle of the water to fly through the air. Imagine that the creatures were divided in an ancient time according to preferences they choose for themselves. Some creatures continue to stay on the ground, while others thought that this is very little and not befitting to them. But the reality, extending deep in time, does not know impossible circumstances. Someone has thought that, well, you can get what you want. Do you want to fly? So be it, and you have what you wanted. Is this true for birds who said that? Each being chooses for itself the level of freedom and power it needs. Among those that chose wings, the strength preference varied a lot from one being to another. Take for comparison the two funniest creatures, the bat and the flying fox. 5, the flying mouse, the bat, is one of the most complete and mysterious creatures created by nature. It is no accident that the Batman character was patterned after it. The bat has a nightlife lifestyle and has direct sight, and there is a point of view in the scientific community that bats fly in space with the ultra-sensitive echo probe that they have. But this opinion raises many doubts. Nobody knows for sure, although some claim to know why bats need an echo probe. Most bats feed on insects. A person cannot hear much of the sound they produce because their frequencies may exceed our maximum perception by 20 kilohertz, and bats can live in a coma for a while when when there are unfavorable natural conditions. Flying foxes have a day and night lifestyle. Their food is mainly composed of fruits, nectar, and flowers. A flying fox has a wingspan of 1.5 meters, flies clumsily, and is always good in making its plans. Flying foxes have neither direct sight nor an echo probe. They live in swarms and fight each other constantly and noisily. I didn't know that. 6, if the bat and the flying fox meet and chatter with each other, this is what they might say. Fox: I am a flying fox. Who are you? Bat: I am a bat, a flying mouse. Fox: You miserable thing. What a deformed dwarf you are. Bat, look at you, you disgusting hairy one. You are just a puffed belly with a short tail. Fox, but I have beautiful ears, don't you see? As for you, you have a funny membrane. Bat, on the other hand, I have an echo probe, and even without it, I can see things clearly in the middle of the night. I don't know why everyone thinks the echo probe can help with guidance and flight. They are just morons. This is no difference than from the blind person who searches in the woods for breakfast with a stick. But I have to chase insects, and they are very nimble. Fox, but why do you need an echo probe? Bat, nobody has to know this. It is my business. Fox, you're stubborn, my soft toy, so watch out that you don't burst out of vanity. Bat, not at all. We are humble and calm bats. We fly with joy and live our lives in joy. As for you, rotten foxes, your flocks do not cease to roar and curse. Bat, so why do you make all that disgusting sound on the fly? Fox, because of my joy. I can fly however I want. Bat, but I also fly. Fox, yes, but like a dog that has two wings. Bat, over forests and fields I can fly. I can light the ground with a dog's wing. So fly from here because I might unwittingly devour you. Fox, not that cute because you are a vegetarian. Okay, this is quite bizarre. And the debate continues like this. In the same way, you have flying foxes and bats among you. We are also different from each other in terms of needs and interests. Each of us chooses his level of freedom and degree of strength according to his desire. But needs and interests can change over time, and tomorrow they will not be the same as today. As you meet each other at some point in time, one of you may say to the other, as if speaking secret words, first person, I'm a flying mouse. Second person, and I'm a flying fox. First person, I'm a mouse. Second person, and I'm a fox. But if I want to be a mouse, I can be. Well, Vadim, you know what? I'm going to say to you right now, I'm a fox and you're a mouse. If you really feel like this, I mean, what's the point in trying to get somebody else to conform to your exact qualifications, really? Unless I'm reading this wrong, but again, I think that there's a little bit of divide here between the man and the knowledge. Okay, 7. When you read a book, you imagine that you can control reality and direct it like a dream. But once you move away from the book and dive into the same reality, it will be clear to you that this is not as easy as you had imagined. 8. You will not be able to control reality because a person is considered a consumer, not a creator. He is a receiver, not a transmitter, meaning he is not a broadcaster. 9. The broadcaster is the person who does not adhere to the ready-made stereotypes and norms imposed on him by the social environment. Ridiculous. Instead, he is the person who has the courage to impose his own laws and standards. 10. In order to transform into a transmitter in a broadcasting device, it is necessary for you to free your consciousness and your mind and to raise your energy level. 11. An important part of the consciousness of contemporary man is an awareness that is stored in the system in order to serve the flow of information coming from the outside. There is another important part of the technogenic system that is surrounded by the products of the environment. 12. The factors that lead to the seizure of energy are the same that lead to the energy loss. 13. As a person ages, his consciousness becomes more and more absent. His energy drops more and more, and as a result, the phenomenon of old flint arises. Translator supposition, old flint starts to misfire as it ages. Synapses in people's brains start to misfire as they age. Thanks for that, Terza or Mohil. That was an awesome little supposition there. 14. In recent times, the seizure and encirclement of energy and consciousness has become accelerated and intense, albeit unnoticed. 15, transurfing should be viewed as holistic and indivisible principles, that consist of 3 elements: how we think, how we feel, and how we move. 16, because you live within the system, in the ready-made stereotypes, the system consumes your energy and your awareness, and at the same time, you must not be a follower of the system. 17, you will only be able to break free from the system by the means that you connected to the system, meaning you must violate all the system's standards. That's what I'm doing right now, y'all. I'm violating all of them across the board. Well, maybe not the YouTube standards because I don't want to be kicked off here, but pretty much everything else, including Vadim Zeland. 18, when the energy and awareness reach the critical point, all other difficulties automatically fall off. 19, each person chooses the level of freedom and power that he wants according to his or her needs. We say, for scrutiny only, that direct vision is the ability of the brain to perceive reality without using the eyes, i.e. directly. This method of seeing, called the Bronavik-Furk-Laron system, is available on their website at www.bronavikcenter.net. It'll be in the description below. In this school, they teach how to acquire this skill along with other skills such as body energy flows and superconscious perceptions. The direct vision of a person is a dream that a person sees while awake. In a normal dream, we only see the unrealized sector of the space of variations. The direct vision allows us to realize without using our eyes the 2 elements that make up our world, the metaphysical component and the physical component, as well as the phenomenon resulting from them. These skills are all super efficient skills, but special exercises can make them more achievable. Children are the most capable of achieving this. However, for adults, despite the difficulty of succeeding in learning this, it is also possible. People sometimes ask me this question. On the internet, there is a lot of conflicting information about the Bronavik method. So do you know how to deal with this? People tend to trust what is written, especially if it is published through public media, with the internet being one of them. The property of the internet is that it is a treasure, and at the same time, it is a storehouse of filth. Didn't such an idea ever occur to you? On almost the same shelf, accurate information is placed, and at the same time, an outright lie. But no one can control this completely uncontrollable situation. As for the Bronavik method, from the point of view of the narrow-minded observer, his approach is an imaginary approach to the extent that it cannot be related to reality. This is what the ignorant sees. He shakes his head and uses his tongue to say ugly things, and he will do anything stupid to justify his ignorance in order to defend his ignorance. What has been written against transurfing, for example, is it a little thing? So thanks everyone, Mohil, Bashir, Teodora, Tirza, and Abdukafor and his team. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Comments below, all that jazz, and thank you so much for watching, everybody. Bye.